An Empire of Ice and Fire by Longclaw 1-6. Chapter 9. Goodbye. Chainmail clinking as he raced through the tiled corridors. The sight upon entering the room was worse than he feared. Bruises littered her pale skin, joined by the sharp cuts that had been sliced through both flesh and the white nightgown draped over her body. "My queen! Fetch the maester!" Sir Jamie barked, cradling the poor woman in his arms. "Now!" Normally no one would take orders from the junior-most member of the Kingsguard, but this was not a normal situation. Beginning to race out and comply with his request, the knight took one look at his queen's face. Alabaster cheeks red from anguish, tear stains down her face. Violet eyes clouded over with fear and a deep, piercing sorrow. Sir Barristan Selmy would never forget that face. Never forget the state of the kind Queen Raella in the days leading up to the tourney where Robert's rebellion had truly begun. It haunted him for nearly 2 decades. And the ghost of his queen had returned again, in the humble form of a tiny little servant girl. His mind kept saying that his memory was playing tricks with him, that as Robert grew more and more out of control with Robert Arryn's death, with the Crown Prince's cruelty and madness growing, a sort of wishful thinking had emerged. He saw one of the 2 people he had actually been proud to serve under in the faces of random servant girls. Wishing by the grace of the gods he could find a Targaryen that could right his wrongs. To start going mad with depression and regret. As he strolled through the courtyard, off duty and needing to clear his head, Barristan stilled. There she was again, bucket in her arms, with water sloshing within, walking towards the kitchens from the well, her Valyrian features prominent in spite of the dark brown hair. He had inquired about her, learning from the other servants that she was from Lys, but the look was just too uncanny. This mere servant girl looked just like Raella Targaryen, the queen he had served, and Queen Raella had a daughter. No chance this was just some coincidence, not with the resemblance just so blatant. Sword clinking against his bronze armour, he followed the girl, falling in mere yards behind her, wanting to know more, to ask her for the truth of why someone who could be the daughter of the Targaryen queen was in Westeros. The girl looked over her shoulder at that moment. Violet eyes. Targaryen violet eyes. Finding him and widening. Beginning to scurry around the corner of one of the stone buildings lining the inner wall of the castle, Barristan trotted after, not wanting to lose her. It happened quickly. One moment the old knight had been turning the corner, and the next he was slammed against the wall at the base of a tower, the only light coming from a single torch as the door to the outside slapped shut. Blade at his throat. "It would be easy," came the gravelly northern brogue of the Warden of the Winterfell. "Man goes for a ride in the Wolf's Wood. Man doesn't come out." Barristan gulped, in disbelief that Eddard Stark was threatening him with an ignoble death. Then again, not that really surprised at that. "Would you really kill me to protect Raella's daughter?" If Lord Stark was truly hiding her under Robert's nose, he would, but Barristan didn't wish to dwell on that. It surprised Ned that Barristan had figured it out. He didn't show it, though. "You are the second person I have been willing to gut like a fish to protect her." He allowed himself an uncharacteristically dark smirk, watching Barristan finally feel a sense of fear. "Promise me, Ned. Promise me." For Lyanna, he would do anything, even act as a common cutthroat. But he wasn't a monster. "You are also the second man of whose help I need, whose help Daenerys Targaryen leads." So it is true. Raella's daughter is here. I, Rhaegar's sister. Ned's eyebrow rose. "Tell me, Sir Barristan, If you could, would you change what happened at the Trident long ago? He closed his eyes, remembering that horrid day. I'd have taken Robert's blow, so that Rhaegar could live. Ned smiled. Good. He let the knife leave Barristan's throat, giving the old knight breathing room. Yet Barristan Selmy will still be going for a ride in the Wolf's Wood. Barristan responded only with a raised eyebrow. Running a gentle hand along her limp son's hair, Catelyn knew she looked like the worst of all hells. Face pale, skin unwashed, eyes sunken, the tolls of staying by Bran's bedside had affected her greatly. Yet she stayed. Refused offers to leave, refused other nurses, refused all but modest meals in her dedication to her son. The only other with similar dedication was resting on the bed, Summer's snout perched on Bran's still form. Everyone had been by to give their support or see Bran. Ned and Robb struggled to keep their tears from flowing, while Sansa, Rickon, and even Arya failed at that venture. All gave their love and kindness to their brother's fight to stay alive. Except one. Jon. With plenty of time to reflect, Bran having not woken since Hodor brought him back to the Winterfell after his fall, Catelyn's mind kept revolving back to Jon Snow. Her husband's bastard. Not his bastard. Memories of that day 16 years ago kept repeating whenever she closed her eyes. How Ned came back from his trip south, a pink baby bundled in a blanket in his arms. How he had carried him reverently, as much in love with him as he was with little Robb. Catelyn hated that child. Hated Jon with every fibre of her being. Hated the reminder of how her beloved Ned was seduced by some southerner, and the love he had for the child stoked jealousy that he loved her as well. But it was all a lie. The truth felt surreal. In all her life, she was in the company of the rightful. A knock on the door startled her. Catelyn looked up, only to spot the object of her thoughts. "May I enter, my lady?" Jon Snow asked, his face supplicant and tone respectful. Unable to come up with an answer, Catelyn just nodded. Watching him stride over towards Bran's bedside, Catelyn looked him over as if she had never seen him before. With his coal-black hair, grey eyes and sturdy features, Jon definitely took from his Stark side. And the way he loved his family, speaking words of affection and brotherly love for the still sleeping Bran. The lady saw much of Ned in him. Lyanna. But there was an almost regal air, a martial prowess and innate confidence that was just starting to prop up. His other side. The one that stunned her and disconcerted her the most. It hadn't been there before the Targaryen princess. Jon had been sullen, withdrawn, unsure of himself. Was that because of her? Regret pulsed in the back of her mind. The contemplation was once again broken when Jon kissed Bran's brow, moving to head out. "Jon!" she called, his name not tinged with bile for once. The lad stopped, glancing at her puzzled. He sensed it too. "Thank you for coming. Bran would welcome it." Modestly, Jon merely nodded his head. "It is no trouble. He is my brother." His response only made her pain worse, and his leaving left her alone with her thoughts. Catelyn looked at the ceiling, as if her eyes centered on heaven itself. "You can count on me, Lyanna." For the first time in 16 years, Catelyn Tully Stark let go of her anger. It was a quiet night. The king was leaving in 2 days, Ned Stark with him. Jon was heading north to the wall. Somewhere his uncle Benjen informed him he would be safe from anything that happened in the south. 1 year before, such would be all that Jon could think about. believing it to be all he wanted. But he had changed. All he ever wanted was in his arms at that very moment. "I can't bear you going there," Daenerys murmured, holding him tighter, ear pressed to his chest to listen to his heartbeat. "All alone, without the love you deserve." Jon pressed a kiss to her hair, hand splayed on her back. "I'll have my uncle with me." Even he knew his words were hollow. "You are all that matters to me. I need you to be safe." She rolled until their eyes met, hers filled with tears and determination. "I will return, Jon, with an army at my back, taking down the horrid usurper. When I do, you'll be my king, ruling by my side." Smiling softly, cupping her cheek, Jon only kissed her. It was never to be. He wasn't worthy of such an honour, but Jon knew she would be the greatest of rulers, a true queen, and he someone who would serve her till his dying day. Reaching into the pocket of her nightshirt, Dany drew out a chain, made of a polished silver. At the end dangled a small pendant, one of a 3-headed dragon. "Jon, I want you to have this." She pressed it into his hands. "It was my brother's. Rhaegar's. Dany, I know he isn't your family's favourite person, but this pendant was the last thing I have left of my family. The only thing I ever kept that Viserys didn't sell for food." Tears fell down her face. I want you to have it, so no matter where you are, you'll know I'm with you, as I have the sword." Close to tears himself, Jon merely took the pendant, draping the chain around his neck with a look of pure love in his eyes. "I love you, Jon Snow," she ground out, sobbing. Daenerys pressed her lips against his hungrily, passionately, desperately. "No matter where you are, be it in Winterfell, the Wall, or the frozen wastes far to the north, know that I love you." He squeezed her tightly, rolling her around, pressing his skin flushed against hers. He would not cry, fighting the tears threatening to fall. But when Jon spoke, the emotion hoarse in his voice was unmistakable. "Daenerys." All her kisses were returned, their tongues clashing. "I love you too. No matter where we are, I always will." Fresh tears escaping her, Dany simply melted into their ardour. Dany grabbed his hands. "Remember me, Jon. Remember what we have." "I will." It was torture. "Gods, I always will." "Remember this, Jon Snow." She kissed against his chest. "Remember our love. Remember me." She would remember him. Till her dying day, Daenerys Targaryen would remember her wolf. Jon weaved her hands. "I will. Always, my love." "Here." Barristan felt a coin purse drop into his outstretched palm. "This is enough gold to get you to Qohor. Lord Manderley knows of the arrival of someone important to the grain shipment, arriving in White Harbour soon. He will provide a ship to Pentos." "You have truly thought of everything, Lord Stark." Barristan chuckled. His gaze was drawn to the young lovers several yards away, embracing tightly in the dark, mouths locked as they shared one last moment of passion. It truly warmed his heart. "Are you sure my true whereabouts won't be discovered?" Ned shook his head. "The hue and cry was intense, and I made sure your trail led west, not the east. By the time they discover the body in the woods, you'll be in White Harbour." Nodding, the old knight mounted his horse. He, Princess Daenerys, and her handmaiden would be travelling without much in the way of baggage. It would be quicker than the royal procession, which was what Barristan counted on. The sooner they were in the wilds of Essos, the better. Lord Stark clearly wished to leave the couple to their moment. But as the night grew older and older, it was time. Jon. The single word was enough. Both of them knew what it meant. Tears in her eyes, Daenerys kissed him one last time. Be here for me, my love. Jon stroked his cheek, committing the beautiful face to memory. I will. I love you so much, Daenerys. I love you too. Both old fighters felt the tears fall from their eyes. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed this. Poor Dany, poor Jon. Bittersweet, very bittersweet. And poor Bran as well, he's had his fall. And though, one thing I'd like to say, Catelyn Stark, she is a very interesting character to me. You can either write her to be the coldest of horrible women that you can imagine, or you can write her to be something stronger. I don't like her in the books, but I like the dichotomy of the character in the show. So I like how those two characters can blend together to form such an interesting dichotomy inside her. In this fiction, she is not forgiven right off the bat by many. I want that known. But she still tries, and people still recognise that effort. I really appreciate that. It's very real. Very real. Anyway, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Bye!